This episode is brought to you by the Financial Services School, specialising in educating insurance professionals.
Australia underwent major growth following World War II, and one of the materials used widely during this period of time was, unfortunately, asbestos, a product now known to be linked with many health issues. While the construction with this material has now stopped, its legacy has well and truly been left, with many existing buildings containing the material. Steve from OCTIEF, a company specialising in asbestos identification and testing, was kind enough to come and sit down with us and explain the process. Enjoy.
Many homes and businesses have some level of asbestos product in them, given the age and the widespread use of it throughout Australia. It's really safe if it's kept in a good condition and it's bonded. So the issue is the asbestos fibres in the product. If they're released and they're available to be inhaled, that's when you are risking people's health. So if you're talking about asbestos sheeting, as long as it's in good condition and it's not disturbed, it's quite safe to have that in your property. The dust could be caused from one of two different areas usually. One is it could have been from modifications to the roof, either through repairs that have come about from, say, storm damage, or from someone installing new lights and electrical fittings, or because of over time those Super 6 roofs will just deteriorate and the asbestos fibres will be released from the concrete compound that actually binds them together. So over a period of time, as they deteriorate, more fibres can be released into the building, so it's important to manage that in a safe way. The regulation under most states for business owners and people conducting a business to have an asbestos register and have an asbestos management plan. And that's really important, that they know where their asbestos is and they know how to manage it and keep it in a safe condition. An asbestos test can be conducted by taking a sample of the material and sealing it up and sending it away to a laboratory for analysis. And when it gets to the laboratory, the trained technicians can identify the type of asbestos fibre and advise on whether it's present or not in that building material. You can also test dust in a property as well, so a trained sampler can collect a dust sample, send that off to a laboratory as well to determine if there's asbestos fibres in that are present. But if you think that you need to modify some sort of your building structure, you can take a sample. It's probably safer in most cases to engage an occupational hygiene company to come out and provide a full survey of your building, because you need to usually treat all the building products as a whole, as opposed to just one particular area. We do what's known as a dust lift, and there's a few different methods for conducting that. Some of it's using an adhesive type of product, and others are using a wipe type of method. But our occupational hygienist would determine what's the safest way to conduct that test before sending that sample off to a laboratory. If we are finding free dust, that's usually a cause for further investigation, because the dust is what causes health concerns for the people inside those properties or working in those workplaces. So if we are finding dust, we need to find what's caused that dust and to determine how to best manage that situation. Typically, you should treat all of the debris as being contaminated. If it's been caused by a fire, we know that a lot of asbestos roofing and sheeting, for example, will explode under really high temperatures, and that causes the fibres and the asbestos to spread throughout the debris. If we can see that it's an isolated area that's been caused, say, through an impact, we might just treat that area as contaminated. But if larger style demolitions would require us to treat them separately. If we can see where there's still asbestos hole, we would just engage asbestos removalists to come in and take that away. If it's part of a demolition of a property and we can't safely remove that asbestos, then we need to treat the entire demolition as being asbestos contaminated. The waste needs to be treated as contaminated, and that requires special removalists to come and contain it. And then also the disposal fees are far higher at registered disposal facilities than just general waste as well. Asbestos tests cost around $50 per sample. to be tested in the laboratory, which is the only real way that you can determine that asbestos is present in a building material. There's sampling guidelines available that we would follow, where we would take an appropriate number of samples across the property. So we wouldn't be looking to test every single material in the property. We'd be looking at age and likelihood of it being present before we took a sample for laboratory analysis. We do have some direct clients that take their own samples and send that in for our laboratories to analyse, which would only produce a laboratory certificate at the end saying the type of asbestos and whether it was present or not present as we found it. In the case of OCTIEF being engaged to come out and deliver an asbestos survey, we would come out and we would plan that survey with the client to identify where in the property the asbestos is. We would collect the samples, produce laboratory certificates, and then provide an asbestos register at the end. And if the client would like, we can also produce an asbestos management plan as well. Best way is to give our head office a call on 1800 OCTIEF and get in touch with our team to scope up an appropriate visit.
If you want to learn more about what OCTIEF does and how to get in contact with them, there'll be a link in the description. Click here for another video we did. Give us a thumbs up if you found this helpful, comment with more stuff you want to know about, and for more demystified insurance jargon, click that subscribe button.